The Knight Fellowships program has been lucky enough this year to have John Temple as a senior fellow. John has a long career in both mainstream media and startups. He was the publisher of the Rocky Mountain News. He was the founding editor of Civil Beat in Honolulu, and most recently, he was the managing editor of the Washington Post. And we thought we'd take this opportunity to share a few of his thoughts about journalism and the Knight Fellowships and matters like that. John, I know from talking with you that despite everything that's going on, you're an optimist. Given the disruption, given the reductions in staffs and so on, what makes you an optimist?
Well, one thing that makes me an optimist is being here at Stanford and being around the fellows you've just seen. I mean, you can see the passion, the energy, the commitment. There's something about journalism for the right people that it drives them, and that's still happening today. And on a larger sense, I think why I'm so optimistic is really on two fronts. Technology has opened the door for people to contribute and participate in journalism in a way that they never have been able to before. And we know it's much, much richer as a result. What's possible in journalism is much richer as a result. And the other thing is that today we've seen that the technology that people have, that they have available to them, they're actually more interested in the news. They're constantly checking, they're constantly connecting. And so that's the challenge to us is there's all this opportunity because they're so engaged, and we just have to produce content and stories that people will really value.
So you've spent nearly a year now, not just at Stanford, but in Silicon Valley. What lessons should journalists take from the ethos of Silicon Valley, and what should they be careful not to learn from Silicon Valley?
Yeah, it's a great question. Well, I'll start with what I think people should take, and what I'm taking away from Silicon Valley is a great sense of openness and optimism and a sense of possibility and a willingness to try and to learn by trying and by doing, and a willingness to experiment. And we always talk here about, don't be afraid of failing. And I think that's a really important lesson to take away from Silicon Valley. Some of the things I think we have to be careful about, especially those of us in journalism, is technology does not solve all problems. I mean, there is somewhat of a sense in the air here that, well, what can technology do? That's not the only way to solve problems. And another is, people sometimes tend to chase the next big thing in Silicon Valley, and journalism, I think, is deeper than that, and we have to be careful that it's not about fads. It's about much deeper service to people than the next big thing. And finally, for those of you who don't know or haven't experienced it, money is in the air in Silicon Valley, and there's a real sense of success is measured in wealth and by how much your ideas might generate. And I think we in journalism have to be really careful not to measure our success by wealth, but by impact and by contributing to our communities and by making the world a better place with journalism. And there's all kinds of journalism that can do it, but it's not about the money, even though we know that a fundamental issue for us is to support and pay for the journalism that we as a society need.
I was going to say that for most journalists, measuring their success by wealth is not really a problem.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
So you've done a lot. You've been in a number of places, and you're very forward-looking. For somebody to ask you, what should I do to have an impact in journalism in the 21st century? What would you advise people?
Well, I think one thing is you have to want to have that impact, because journalism's not an easy field. It's not the glamour of being in front of the TV camera or being up on stage like this. It's really hard work, and I wish the public understood that good journalism is really hard work. But I think passion, a sense of commitment, bringing that every day, and basing where you're going to work and what you're going to do on what you believe and finding good people to work with. I think the most important thing is engaging with others who have the same sense of passion and commitment and drive, and then learning from each other, because something special happens when you get in the right group of people and you build a spirit and an ethos. And we can see it in the night fellowship, the way this group has developed over the course of the year. And I think for people in journalism, don't evaluate an organization based on its name or the status and all those kinds of things. I mean, who would have thought that I would end up at the Washington Post as managing editor after going to a tiny startup in Hawaii? Go where you think you can do work that you believe in and find people who want to do the same kind of work and where you can, create something positive.
Thank you, John, and thank you for your contributions to the Night Fellowship this year.
Thank you, Jim, and thanks for making it possible for me. It's been a real honor to be part of this program.